Hello and welcome back to another episode of Farewell Evangelion, the Neon Genesis Evangelion podcast where we go through the series bit by bit. My name is Keith and I'm going through for my last time, and as always I'm joined by Peter.
Hello!
Who is going through for his first. So today we went through Volume 5 of the Neon Genesis Evangelion Manga series. This one was called Cenotaph and was originally released December 17th, 1999. Asuka moves in with Shinji, yet despises him for the offense of not being Misato's old flame. The tall, dark, and handsome Ryoji Kaji. The Quiet Ray would seem closer to Shinji, but her true attraction is also to someone most inappropriate.
Yep.
At least the dialogue is acknowledging the problems with the Ray relationship.
Yeah, the Ray relationship is wrong on multiple levels, and at least the description acknowledges that.
The wording is kind of weird, because it kind of also sounded like she's upset with Shinji because Shinji's not Misato's old flame, but it's clearly because they phrased it weird. It's like, oh, Shinji's not Ryoji Kaji. Yeah,
she's upset with the fact that Shinji's not Ryoji Kaji, and they just phrased it super fucking awkwardly. I'm mad at you because you've never fucked Misato in the past.
It's getting into that, like, Chris Redfield Bloodline joke almost.
Yeah. So, right off the bat, I'm giving myself an A- for my... I am giving myself an A- for my prediction. Because while I was technically correct in everything I said, I kind of left out the big set piece of this one, which was the angel attack. I mean, there was other stuff going on, but I kind of just straight up forgot about the fact that angels exist in the universe when I was predicting this one.
I mean, we have gone through a few series, which angels have not been a focal point.
Yeah. It's shame on me for my most recent experience being the Shinji Ikari Racing Project, and constantly trying to predict angels and shit like that, and it never working out.
I mean, let's be fair. Most of your predictions were
White Day. Yeah, White Day and more Kaoru. I forgot that Kaoru's work was done there, and thus he left.
Exactly.
And much like in the... What was the one before that? Like Summer Days or some shit like that?
Angelic Days?
Angelic Days. Once Kaoru leaves, everyone forgets about him. With Shinji Ikari Racing Project, we, the audience, are supposed to forget about him.
Kaoru who?
Yeah.
Kaoru.
Anyways, yeah. Solid A- for myself. I was right about everything. I left off some important points.
Fair. I'm going to start off by just saying, this volume, Volume 5, is really good.
Yeah.
We kind of get a cold open with its Ryoji is snooping around spots. This is the 107th of the 109 Marduk Institution locations, and he's monologuing to himself that, like, he's checked every one. He wasn't surprised that this one was also empty. He knows something's going on, and he suspects that there might be someone more secretly pulling the strings. And then I love how it just fucking
Gendo up on a hill looking down on him
with that smug ass
with a
look.
fucking smile on his face.
Like, it's not even like I'm angry I have to deal with this person. It's like, I'm so proud of Kaji. He's figured it out.
He's seen 107 of the 108 or whatever fucking Marduk Institute locations.
I'm really proud of the fact he didn't give up after like 42.
Yeah. I look forward to him seeing the 108th, which actually has real stuff going on. I look forward to him having that moment of reveal.
Kaji had 108 locations to pick from and still managed to find the real one last.
Yeah, way to go, Kaji. Proud of you. The last one's just a normal laboratory where they are testing children to find the actual fourth child.
It's ran by the Marmaduke.
Yeah, it's ran by Marmaduke. Classic.
But this goes into Kensuke, Toji, and all of them on their way to school, talking about a test that they're not ready for.
Yeah.
And they want to study at Shinji's house because Misato's there.
Yeah, midterms are coming up, and they are just woefully unprepared. The other two are actually surprised to find out that Shinji's unprepared, but, like, of course he's unprepared. He's been living with fucking Asuka for 5 days.
Well, but they don't know this yet, and they find out once they get in, which this is, I feel like, another good change from the original anime series, where Asuka's not like, oh, Misato's thrown to the side. She literally knows Shinji's still going to be living here, but still chose to take his room and forced him into a closet.
Yeah.
Which I think just is way better for the Asuka character than, oh, you're getting kicked out, so I just moved into where you are. No, it's literally, you don't deserve this room. I'm getting it.
I'm taking the room. You now back in the closet, Shinji, until you can safely leave the closet for real. Society's not ready for you to leave the closet, Shinji. I'm sorry.
I even like later on when they show
him in the closet, and it's
you can see like a vacuum cleaner and stuff stacked up in the corner.
Also, like half of Asuka's boxes are still filling the closet as well.
But yeah, it's great because Toji and Kensuke are freaking out because Asuka's there because they don't want anything to do with her.
Of course, she's terrifying.
And she starts gloating about the fact that like she's better and like how could she turn down Misato and stuff. And then when Shinji's like, hey, Misato, you should have talked to me about this. Like, oh, I know it happened fast, but I couldn't turn down Asuka when she asked.
Yeah, when she, like, so deliberately asked me. Clearly, she just had a great time hanging out with you over those 5 days and just wanted to hang out with you some more. Which, of course, Toji and Kensuke over here, they're like, what the fuck, you dirty dog. You lived with her, spent every waking moment with this woman for 5 days and didn't tell us, even though she's terrifying and you probably feared for your life at every moment.
Although, to be clear, Toji said, Prof, I can't believe you did this to me.
Yeah, that's true. He was a 40-year-old man in this situation, as in all situations. Yeah, so, also at the same time, Kensuke is a huge military nerd, and happens to notice that there's a new doodad on Misato's leather jacket, which is not military attire, but clearly has the military attire doodads.
I think it's just a pin she attaches to her collar.
Yeah.
Although, actually, the red jacket and stuff is actually apparently Nerve official.
Sure,
Yeah.
whatever.
Because I remember, like, it's never specifically stated in any of the comics or TV shows or anything like that, but, like, there's art books that get released, and the red skirt and jacket apparently is a high-ranking Nerve uniform.
How the fuck Kensuke knows that, I don't know.
What do you mean?
He's a military nerd.
His dad's guarding the door!
His dad's guarding the door by looking away from the door, so if someone sneaks through, they have a chance to stab him in the back of the heart.
Exactly.
Yeah, so Kensuke notices that she's clearly got a promotion because there's the extra doodad on her jacket.
Yeah.
And so he decides to throw her a celebratory party. Everyone's invited.
I love how, in this part, too, Misato has, like, a little thought bubble to herself, like, this kid is weird.
Yeah, of course.
I don't fucking trust this kid anywhere near an Evangelion.
The best part is, that's probably how they decided on the fourth child not being Kensuke and being Toji. It's like, I don't want him anywhere near this. But I also love how while this is happening, Toji's just in the back of the room like, the power of an otaku. And it's like, I don't even think he technically classifies as an otaku. He's just a loser who loves the military.
It's solo airsoft battles with himself.
Yeah, he likes going up and doing airsoft battles by himself in the mountains, and perhaps overseeing great spots to watch fireworks from.
You know, I gotta think about this. He's definitely trying to get Toji involved in this.
Oh, 100%. He has asked Toji multiple times, and Toji just happens to have something going on each and every time.
Exactly.
Definitely not by design, it's just pure coincidence. Toji has something going on.
Yeah. But they end up having the celebratory party for Misato's promotion and Asuka moving in. And then Hikari shows up, they're all confused why, and Asuka's like, I gotta hang out with someone who's not a loser.
Yeah.
Thus, standing up the friendship between those two.
And then Kaji shows up, because of course he was invited.
Well, I like that Misato's thing is like, he's probably sniffing girls' butts somewhere.
Yeah.
It's like, Misato, what are you, fucking, like 12?
Are you still a child, Misato? But as we know from our previous experience, mentally, yes, she is still very much trapped in childhood.
And Kaji very much sniffing butts.
She's accurate. Kaji is probably out there sniffing butts. He ends up showing up to the party with gifts. I assume the gift for Misato was just more alcohol.
Probably. And like a little cat figurine for Asuka.
Yep. And so they have a lovely party. Misato gets way too drunk.
I gotta give some credit here to Toji specifically.
Oh yes, Toji.
Because Toji immediately picks up that Asuka's personality changes on a dime with Kaji here. And he's like, I'm about to fucking end this whole woman's career.
This woman has been awful to me since day one. I am owning her to fucking Kaji right now. And the best part is, like, if Asuka had the mental, like, capacity to, like, keep track of what he's trying to do.
Personality A and personality B.
Yeah, she could have just not acknowledged it and just been like, wow, Toji, you're being real weird right now, but still acting, like, nice.
Yeah, she just fucking knocks him out.
No, she's like, oh, fuck, I'm gonna, like, deck you. And then she tries to recover by being like, oh, I gently pushed you and you fell unconscious for 6 hours. That's weird.
And then we get the thing from both Kaji. We sound like, yeah, we kind of knew this.
You're a terrible actor. We all knew.
The moment that all those gangsters reported that small red-haired girl beat the shit out of them, we knew what happened.
Yeah. So anyway.
And then Shinji kind of teases her. It's like, see, I told you.
And then she responds by throttling Shinji and choking him the fuck out.
And everyone else seems to laugh and enjoy this.
The worst part is, like, Shinji also seems to enjoy this. Everyone is enjoying the experience of Shinji getting choked in the middle of the living room. There's not a single person there who's like, this is weird, should we intervene?
It would be just great if, like, you know how earlier when we had the scene with Kaji when he was searching the spot, and we pan up to the hill, and it's Gendo with that smirk on his face, and it just pans over to the window, and it's the same thing.
It's Gendo just sitting on the balcony, watching outside, smiling.
Yes, just as I planned.
Perfect. This is why I allowed this.
But then, like, we get the ominous little thing from Shinji at the end of this chapter as well, where he's going like, I knew it couldn't last for long.
Yeah. Misato, very drunk. Kaji, medium drunk. And he decides to get her some fresh air and walk outside and kiss her right on the fucking mouth.
Well, this is the following volume, because it ends with the party starting, essentially.
Yeah.
We get the little thing of Rei sensing something in the Ava, and that Unit 1 smells like Shinji. That classic line.
Yep.
And
Shinji been pissing in here? It smells like piss.
We also get the Maya bringing up that she doesn't feel comfortable with what they're preparing, which we, as gone through the series a few times, already know.
It's the
dummy plug system.
Yeah.
But Ritsuko seems a bit more understanding compared to what she was in the anime series, because it seems even Ritsuko isn't comfortable with what this system's supposed to do. But at the same time, she's like, I'm already this far in. How would I, look if I backed out now type things.
Yeah.
So it's almost like she's gives off a kind of a I'm in too deep situation instead of a I'm a complete asshole.
Yeah, she's that one Sum 40 song where she's into deep, but she's trying to keep her head above water.
All the blood in my head.
Instead of going under. Yeah.
And then that's when we get the cut to the end of the party with everyone passed out on the floor and Misato's throwing up in the sink.
And so Kaji takes her up for some fresh air. Asuka happens to notice they're both gone. Something shady's afoot, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So she goes outside to find them and sees them almost kissing.
Yeah.
And is immediately sullen because, you know what? This is bad. These two adults who have had a previous relationship...
An old flames kindles.
Can't get into a new relationship.
The thing I like about this interaction, too, is we get a lot more backstory to their relationship, because almost everything in the series so far kind of boils down to they were together and then they just separated. But in this one, we kind of get a little bit more context where Misato is implying that Misato implies that Kaji was cheating on her. And Kaji, at the same time, felt that Misato was pushing him away.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it was Misato that broke up with Kaji, and not one of them disappeared, like in the previous versions.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic as being set up.
Yeah, and Misato gives the background to her father, so we get that information in play here. And it's almost like she understands why she was distant to Kaji, because of the relationship with her father, and the fact that Kaji reminds her of her father.
Yeah. So anyways, the next day at school, we find out that Asuka's clearly upset about the potential kiss that happened and the old flames being rekindled. Meanwhile, Shinji is given the task of bringing a bunch of handouts to Rei because she's missed school.
Yeah. I actually really like this one. It's just Rei fucking like, I have tea, but I don't know how to make it. What the fuck's going on here?
How many leaves do you normally put into tea? And Shinji's probably like, I don't know, like a teaspoon? And she's like, no, give me a number, Shinji. How many tea leaves do I put into the tea?
I need specifics here.
Be specific, Shinji.
And kind of going on our joke too, every time she actually does do something specifically here, it's because Shinji told her to. She has like no free will whatsoever.
Yeah.
She burns herself, she keeps like, no, you gotta put this underwater. Now stay there. Yes.
And then Shinji makes the tea, and then even after making 2 cups of tea, she looks at the tea and says, am I allowed to drink this? And she's like, yes, I made it for you. Drink the fucking tea.
Which Rei invited him in to have a cup of tea. It's like, was she just gonna sit there and watch him drink the tea?
Well, she's never made tea before, so I'm pretty sure she was planning on making a single glass of tea, handing it to Shinji, and making him drink the tea while she
It was
watched.
just one leaf.
Yeah. So while they're making tea, Shinji starts talking about the party, the wicked awesome party he had the night before, and about how they tried to invite Ayanami, but she didn't respond.
Yeah, because she was that scene we saw that was going on, which we found out I guess it took place at the exact same time the Misato Kaji thing did.
Yeah, she was smelling Shinji's piss inside the Unit 1. So she explains that. Shinji says, like, I don't know, I never thought parties would be fun. I thought parties were kind of lame. And then I got to do a party this time, and it was kind of fun. Parties are fun.
Yeah, and then he also kind of admits that he wishes he could talk to his father again, to Ainame, who is like, then just talk to him.
Yeah, just, like, fucking have a conversation with him, man. It's not that hard. I do it all the time.
Yeah, just walk up to him and say, I order you to talk to me. That's how that works, right?
Your father and I are great friends, Shinji. I don't know why you're acting like this.
He ordered me to be his friend, and now we're friends. That's how it works. Every interaction's an order.
Yeah. So just order him to be friends with you, and you'll be fine.
He can't decline.
That's not how orders work. So Shinji ends up going home and calling his father from the closet, as we mentioned earlier, where he now lives.
Yeah.
Fucking Gendo answers the phone. He's like, yes, Shinji, what do you want? Shinji's like, he's like, do you want something? Answer me, Shinji. What the fuck do you want? Why are you calling me?
Who gave you this number?
Shinji's like, do you remember what day it is tomorrow? And Gendo's like, tomorrow is the day after today. I am aware of such simple concepts, you simpleton. Fuck off, never call me again. And so, Shinji is sad. Also, after he hangs up, Shinji's like, okay, well, it's Mom's anniversary death. Have fun.
But yeah, they're heading off, and Shinji goes off to the graveyard while Asuka goes to school. And I actually enjoy this version of the grave scene out of all the versions the most.
Yeah, because in the anime, it felt a lot more like Gendo was trying to teach Shinji about, like, the importance of life and stuff like that. Whereas this one, it just...
And that they showed up together.
Yeah.
Like, this is like the one time a year where they actually willingly get together and do something. Whereas this one, it just feels like Shinji happened to run into Gendo there, and Gendo's like, you need to give up on whatever you think this is going to be.
Yeah, and Gendo is also... It's clear that Gendo does this every year, and the whole reason Shinji is surprised that he's here this year is because Shinji's been away with aunt and uncle who don't love him enough to take him to his grandmother's cenotaph.
Or believe that he didn't steal a bicycle.
Yeah, so this is the first year Shinji's been here in a very long time. So he's surprised to find out that his father does have some level of sentimentality. But at the same time, Gendo's just like, no, emotion's worthless, pictures are worthless. If something needs to be remembered, remember it in your heart. Nothing else fucking matters.
Are you a baby, Shinji? No, so I don't need to be your father anymore.
The only people who need parents are infants. You're not an infant, Shinji. Also, there's nothing buried here. This is an empty grave. This is just a marker. And this is all happening, and Shinji never thinks it, but, like, Gendo, if this is a true philosophy that you very much so believe, why the fuck are you here?
But I think this scene does a better job of setting up Gendo is not just mustache-twirling villain.
Yeah.
Because in the anime, there was never really indication. Like, we knew Gendo was up to some shady shit, but it always came off more of he was just doing mustache-twirly things for the sake of it, because that's who he was.
Yeah.
Whereas this one comes off more like, knowing where Gendo is going, it makes a lot more sense with how Gendo was responding here.
Yeah,
because he even says, yet.
Yeah, he's like, the only place for your mother is in your heart, yet. Like, I don't remember the exact line, but that's essentially what it is there's no point in... Your mother will be alive again at some point in the future. That's the whole goal of this operation.
Yeah, he's just low-key like, hey, Shinji, wink. Your mother's not here yet, wink. Dad, are you going to steal the body and bury it here?
Yeah, she's not here yet, but she will be. Oh, that's it. This grave is just for show. There's no body here. In the mine, that's all that's needed. For now. And it's like, what do you mean, for now? Are we actually going to need a corpse at some point in the future?
What important... I mean, technically, yes. Yes, Yui's corpse is very important to Gendo's plans.
Yeah. Anyways, Gendo explains that they will never have a relationship and Shinji has to stop trying. And then gets in a helicopter with Rei.
Which honestly is probably the nicest thing we have had Gendo do this early in the story.
Yeah, it is kind of him.
Yeah, he's
just
telling Shinji, like, what you want will never be a thing between us, so you should probably just move on.
Find some other source of happiness. I don't know. Maybe an effeminate angel boy who will base his entire existence around making you happy.
I got my son an effeminate angel boy and it hasn't solved the problem.
Yes, so that's the end of their trip to the cemetery.
And it really hit Shinji hard because he's a little out of it for the rest of the volume.
Well, also Shinji, like, sees Rey waiting in the helicopter that picks them up. He's like, oh, great. Rey gets to continue having conversations. But
this bitch doesn't know how to make tea.
But this time we get to see the other side of it, which is Gendo. Like, he actually has a conversation with Rey and all that stuff, but we see Rey's internal monologue, and she's like, I'm just a thing that has a purpose to him. This is not like we're actually conversing like friends or anything.
Yeah, Rey is fully aware, and has always been fully aware of what her purpose is, because Gendo has made it very clear to her.
Yeah. So she even says, I'm the one for whom nothing is going to change. Like, Shinji, there's still a chance for you to change your relationship with your father. My position is set in stone. This is who I am. This is what I will always be.
I was made as a hammer, and I have the purpose of hammering.
I will always have a closer relationship with you than with your father than you will, because my position in life is to have a closer relationship with your father than you do. That is what I was made for.
I was ordered to be friends.
Anyways, next chapter involves the big old angel.
Sahikiel.
Sahikiel. Say it one more time.
Sahikiel.
The big old angel who like drops like goop from his body, but because he's so high up in space with an AT field, it's like dropping a nuke onto the planet. And he does it a couple times to line it up in the ocean, and then eats his whole body at the planet.
This is the angel that's good at math.
Yeah.
Or physics, I guess. Same thing.
The plan is, of course, the three of them are spread around Tokyo 3 because they don't know exactly where it's going to land. And then they're going to run and catch it before it hits Earth. And that'll be good. Good for everyone.
Yeah. And Shinji is a little off on his mark because he's still dealing with the fact of what Gendo told him, that he apparently reduced the possibility of success to like 1/10 of a second.
Yeah, also a great moment in this is...
Ritsuko Misato one?
Yeah, so Misato realizes that both Asuka and Shinji are a little bit off, and she's like, I'm aware of why Asuka's off, I know what's going on there. What's going on with Shinji? He seems kind of depressed. And Ritsuko's just like, I'm going to be honest, a cheerful Shinji seems so much worse.
It's like, you're just an old bitch, and then Ritsuko's like, I take offense to the old part.
I have no problem with you calling me a bitch, but the rest of it's wrong. Anyways, yeah, Shinji hesitates because he's thinking about how he has no relationship with his father. And
He's
never
specifically
will.
thinking about Gendo.
Yeah. Here's the thing, Shinji. Just accept you'll never have a relationship with your father. That's what I did, and I no longer hesitate about things.
Yeah, and we also get a bit more like flashback situations with Shinji as well, because we see him remembering moments of after his mother died, and everyone's like, oh, that poor kid, his mother died because his father used her as an experiment, all that stuff. So we can see that it's briefly mentioned in other versions that there was the belief that Gendo murdered his wife.
Yeah.
And this plays into it more. The manga, I think, because of how it is done, gets a chance to play around with it a bit more.
Yeah, in the anime, I remember a similar scene happening. I also remember Shinji being a lot more vocal of, that's not what's happened, you guys are all wrong. So, like, Shinji is aware of the rumors, but also is aware that they're wrong. Whereas in this one, he doesn't seem to be as directly, you're wrong, that's not what happened. He's just like, stop talking about it.
As we found out a bit later, Shinji wasn't even aware that his mother was a scientist.
What we find out later is he was aware his mother was a scientist, but chose to repress that memory real fucking hard.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
Because even in the anime he represses it, but I feel like they build up his interaction with this information and show more results of people around him gossiping about this stuff and its effect on him.
So anyways, Shinji hesitates enough that the plan has like a microsecond of chance of failure. If they're off by even a microsecond, everything's going to fail. But good thing is, after he stops hesitating, he is not off by even a microsecond, and they manage to catch Sahikiel.
Yeah, and this fight is pretty straightforward. It's all three of them catch it, and then they put the knife through the core, so it's not as dramatic as the other versions of this fight.
Yeah.
The best version of the Sahikiel fight is still the Rebuild series.
Yeah, 100%. But it's dead now. Meanwhile, in the Antarctic, they see the Dead Sea from where the first explosion happened, and they recover the Spear of Longinus.
Yeah, it's the same conversation they have every time there's a scene about science being the true power of mankind and all that stuff, and how it's going to save them, set them free, and Yusuke talking about the area being wiped of sin.
To be fair, science being the savior of man is kind of hitting the nail on the head, because man's like one power that we know of canonically in the universe is the gift of, or the seed of intelligence.
Yeah.
So, like, yes, science is just the most extreme version of that's what your thing is.
Yeah, the seed of knowledge is what the offspring of Lilith have, and the seed of life is what the offspring of Adam have.
Yeah.
Another interesting thing here is This is the first mention in canon of the seas being red.
Yes.
Which the rebuilds, they start off red so we can visually see that, but where this is a black and white manga, and this is 1999, so before rebuild was even a thing.
Yeah, and then in the anime,
it's white. Sorry, it's blue until events happen later on.
Yeah, and then at the end they turn red.
Yeah.
Essentially during instrumentality.
Yeah. So it's an interesting way of showing some of the changes that they were thinking about is a transition between this and rebuild. Like the original anime kind of slowly transitions into this, and then transitions into the rebuild.
Yeah.
For concepts, not necessarily order of operations or something like that.
Hopefully it continues to transition in the sense that we get his mother's big boobed friend from high school. Anyways.
Oh, and actually, you did mention, it's very clear if you know what's going on, that what's on top of that ship is the Spear of Longinus.
Yeah. They refer to it as the Spear, and later on in the volume they say the Spear of Longinus. But yes, this is not explicitly said in this moment, but that is what it is. Anyways, we're now post-fight with the three pilots still hanging out inside their Avis.
I love the opening of this. Shinji, nice work. Oh, thanks. I was being sarcastic.
Yeah. Now get out of there and wait in the locker room, because I want to truly dress you down and tell you off for all the shit you pulled today. And by shit you pulled, I mean being depressed. I need to tell you off for being depressed.
Yeah. And then everyone's favorite situation gets set up. Kaji and Misato in an elevator.
And then what happens? Oh no, the power goes out, and they're stuck in the elevator for almost an hour together.
Now, this happens with the monorail fight in the anime version, which doesn't happen here.
Here it's just clearly someone is shutting off the power to see exactly how they handle a situation like this and what systems they prioritize bringing power back to.
Exactly.
And maybe that someone is Sealey, but we don't know for sure. But we know they definitely don't trust Nerve.
Yeah, and this happens while the pilots are also on the way back from the hangar. And I love how when the power goes out, Asuka starts getting a little freaky about it, and she's like, "Oh, it must be an outage." And then Rei starts listing off fucking outage facts behind Asuka, and I assume just pure monotone.
This is not a standard power outage. The lights have been off for 52 seconds. In such a case, the reserve generators should have come on.
Yeah, it just scares the shit out of Asuka.
Yeah. We also find out that Rei does not need lights because she has perfectly mapped out Nerve HQ in her head.
I was ordered to remember the full facility inside out.
So they end up making their way back to the operating room, I guess is what it's. I don't know if there's a name for it. But the room where Reed's going.
Command center.
Command center, thank you. Meanwhile, Hyuga is sent to go find them, and they run into each other in the door of the command center.
Yeah.
And they find out that Misato's missing, but she's technically in charge because Gendo and Futsuki are still down in the Antarctic Ocean. And
Ibuki mentions that Kaji was with her.
Yeah, so Kaji and Misato are alone in the dark. So Asuka's immediately like, "All right, Rei, let's go. You know the base. We need to track them down. They might be doing something bad."
And this is probably one of my favorite Rei interactions.
Yeah, Rei's just like, "No, this is not my concern.
Nothing to do with this."
So Asuka just gets Shinji to go with her to track them down. And so at the same time, in the elevator, Misato and Kaji are hanging out, talking about how much Misato needs to take a piss. Like a fat piss.
Well, it's Kaji kind of spills his heart to her, but how he doesn't regret being in a relationship with her even if it ended badly and all that stuff, and how he kind of misses her in a sense.
And she's like, "That's cool. By the way, I really got to piss. Let's get out of this elevator because I got to piss. I'm not pissing in front of you. You know what? Give me a peek. Put me up on your shoulders immediately after I told you I really need to piss. That's what we're going to do, okay?" And at the same time, Asuka and Shinji are walking aimlessly through the halls because they don't know where they're going and don't know the layout enough to be able to navigate in the dark. But Asuka asks Shinji, "Yo, you and the first child, you made out yet? You got some hot action from Rei over there?" And Shinji's like, "No, that's not what our relationship is." And then thinks about it, and he's like, it'd be particularly weird if that was what our relationship is. I don't know what it is, but that's just the idea of making out with my mom, Rei, is just weird to me.
And then Asuka pretty much hits him. Wouldn't it be crazy if we just, kissed a little bit here in the dark and Nerve?
What if we just held hands and made out in the dark? Would that be weird? Would that be totally wacky?
It'd be so funny.
Yeah, it'd be so so random if we did that. And then they almost kiss as the power comes back on and the elevator doors open, and not Asuka, Misato and Kaji are
Misato is trying to break open the emergency hatch on top of the elevator to get out and, I guess, find a bathroom up there.
I guess so.
But just as that, power kicks on, and the perfect storm happens for the best situation of the elevator scenario in any combination so far.
Yeah. So, Misato and Kaji see Shinji and Asuka almost kissing, and Shinji and Asuka see Misato and Kaji in a heap on the floor looking like they were just making out.
Yeah, it's like, what are you guys doing, is what Asuka says. And Kaji's like, what are you doing?
Yeah. I can ask you that question as well, you little narc.
And then, we get to the briefing situation where it's Ibuki, Ritsuko, and Misato trying to figure out what happened. Ritsuko is almost positive that it was a sabotage of some sort, and she kind of implies Kaji's involved, and Misato's like, no, he was with me the whole time. And then Ritsuko's like, that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. To be fair, and this is my favorite part of the entire volume so far, is Misato turns towards Ritsuko and she's like, for all we know, there's more than one imposter here, or more than one enemy here.
More than one imposter.
More than one enemy here. And then the very next fucking panel is Pen freaking the fuck out. It's like, wait, is Pen one of the enemies? Is he a spy who's spying on Nair?
He has the perfect cover.
We learned his backstory. Misato saved him from an experiment. The experiment was a deep cover of Pen. This is how he got inserted into Nair.
Yep. Asuka is still at home with Shinji, and she's like, Shinji, you need to go and not go to school today and find Kaji and apologize for everything you've done. It's like, what?
The best part is she doesn't even explain that at first. All she says to Shinji is, don't go to school. And she's like, what? And she's like, no.
That's kind of edgy, Asuka.
Yeah. She's like, no, you need to go to Nair and explain to Kaji what the fuck happened. And she eventually convinces him to go, and then hands him a letter, and she's like, what's this? And she's like, I don't trust you to use your own words. Don't say anything. Go there and then hand him this letter.
Yeah. And then when he's, because he uses the sunlight to try to see through it, and it's like, you're the one, stupid Shinji forced me, in the dark, I tried to, insisting on kissing me, trust that you have nothing do with Misato, I love you.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, I'm fucking not doing that.
I'm not giving Kaji this fucking letter. There's just no fucking way. So Shinji gets there, and power's still not fully restored. He has to manually open gates with a crank. But he ends up wandering the halls until he sees Misato. And he tries to call out to her, but she doesn't acknowledge him. Perhaps she didn't even notice.
Yeah. And then we get this fun scene much earlier than it happened in the original.
Yeah, where Shinji follows Misato to the terminal dogma, which is still shrouded in darkness.
Now, in the anime, this happens very later, and it's Ritsuko.
And she fully encourages... Shinji doesn't follow her. Ritsuko's like, you should come with and see this.
And in Rebuild, it's just before the Ramiel fight is when Misato shows Shinji Lilith to let him know what's at stake, essentially.
Yeah.
So in the Rebuild, she knows about it. In the original, she doesn't. And this is the soonest in a situation where she doesn't know about it. And this time, it's Kaji who is the one revealing things.
Yeah. And Kaji reveals that he is both working for the UN as well as the Japanese Ministry of the Interior.
Kaji's a quadruple spy.
Yeah.
He works for Sile, Gendo, the UN, and the Japanese Ministry.
Yeah, and Kaji's like, don't worry, Gendo knows of all of the different groups I'm spying on him for, and he still wants me around, so we're good.
As long as I'm useful, he has no reason to stop me.
Yeah. And then he opens up the door and shows them fucking Lilith, but calls it Adam.
We know.
It's Lilith. I'm sorry, it's Lilith. No surprise. Spoilers. If you've gotten this far and don't realize it's Lilith underneath Tokyo 3, then I'm sorry, but fuck you. We actually just fucking talked about this reveal in previous chapters. So no spoilers. You already knew.
Yeah. And it's weird that he calls it Adam because he also knows that the thing he gave Gendo
was Adam
as well. So under his impression, Adam has had quite the growth spurt.
Adam has grown quite a lot in the past couple days.
Yeah, and another thing of note is that no Spear of Longinus in it yet.
Yep, which is impressive because its legs still aren't growing back yet. And this is when they notice that Shinji also saw this. And Misato's immediately like, alright Shinji, get the fuck out of here. Also forget everything you've learned today. Nothing matters.
Yeah, and then he starts putting some things together. Like, man, my dad really is causing some shit, isn't he?
Yeah. And also, everyone is telling me to stop caring about things. This is starting to hurt my feelings. Am I allowed to care about anything?
Yeah.
Anyways, she drives him home, or drives him back to near the HQ?
There's no real indication of when this takes place in relation to that last scene
Fair.
to this one, but she's just saying, hey, everything you saw in that basement, don't talk about it. And then we get a cut to a scene where they're doing synchronization tests, and Shinji's starting to sleep.
Yeah. He's not, like, failing, but he is not growing as fast as he was before. No, it is going down. Okay, yeah. But then Ritsuko just sort of covers for him, and she's like, all 3 Ava units are working perfectly. No problems here. And so Gendo gets to feel fine.
And then we get a fun little interaction with Shinji giving back the crumpled letter.
Yeah, so first of all, it's Rei approaching Shinji, and she's like, Shinji, you're depressed. And she's like, of course I'm depressed. I took your advice, and it didn't fucking work, because you don't understand. My dad doesn't love me, but he does love you. And then...
There is no order of love in this relationship, Shinji.
And then Asuka straight up interrupts them, and she's like, how'd that fucking conversation with Kaji go? And she's like, it didn't. Here's your letter. Fuck off, bitch.
And it seems to be the right choice because he just nailed a hot date with Kaji at an aquarium.
Yep. As he's walking home, Kaji's like, hey, if you're walking around so depressed, strange men in cars might try and pick you up and flirt with you.
Depressed person walking down the street? Just my type.
Yeah. Best part is Kaji's like, alright, you headed home, I'll give you a ride. And then explicitly doesn't drive him home. Drives him to an aquarium.
Puts on sunglasses, lights up a cigarette, and is like, God damn, he's so fucking cool.
Yeah. The best part is, like, she's just like, don't worry, I won't tell anyone about what happened. And Kaji's like, sure, fine, whatever. That's not what this is about. I don't care if you tell anyone.
I just want you to know. I'm glad you know.
Yeah. Here's the thing.
And actually, funny enough about because Kaji gives Shinji probably the biggest lore dump he's gotten in any version of any Evangelion.
Yeah.
Because this is, I believe, the first time Shinji actually finds out about Seele, ever.
Yes.
And then Kaji gives him the motivational thing. It's like, it's not just you need to learn the truth, it's your duty to know the truth.
Yeah, your role in all of this, you need to understand what's going on.
And then also kind of rejogs his memory, and Shinji remembers the moment his mother disappeared.
Also, a very significant line to pick up on here. When he's saying it's your duty to know the truth, he says, you're the child of Dr. Yui Akari, who created Gendo Akari, which, sure, his personality is
the monster that is Gendo Akari.
Yeah. But he also says, and the Evangelion series. And what he's saying in universe is Yui created the Evangelion robots that were all piloted.
Yeah, which we already kind of knew that Project E was always hers, and she's the one who cracked the genome. But yeah, there's definitely more implication here.
But what we're not realizing is she also created the Neon Genesis Evangelion series that we're currently reading. You is the creator, not Anno. Anno just gave it all away right there, except this wasn't Anno, this was the manga writer.
Well, Anno also had a lot to do with it, but yeah, Yoshiyuki.
Yeah, Sadamoto just gave away the fact that Anno didn't create shit. It was like Yui Akari. Anyways, yeah, this is when Shinji has his horrible flashback to the day his mother died, and realizes the whole truth is horrible. And he's always known about Evangelions. This is not a new discovery for him.
Yeah. Also, this is probably one of the points when because a lot of people have a speculation that Yui was playing some sort of like 3D interstellar chess game when she made herself part of the Evangelion, and this is one of the things people point to, that she wasn't as carefree and loving as she appears to be, and there was other stuff that she was doing.
Yeah. Also, I don't think she was playing 3D chess when she lost herself to the Eva, because the whole dialogue she has after Shinji is brought in is just very much so, everything's going to work out perfectly today, that's why my son is here.
But maybe the perfectly working out was her fusing with the Eva.
No.
Because it does say in one of the versions that the reason she became part of the Eva was to guarantee a record of humanity. But yeah, then the last scene we get is Gendo and Fuyutsuki having a conversation about what to do with that man, which is Kaji, obviously.
Yep.
And what they're doing with Seele, who is worried about things and the project getting moved up. And then we cut to Ray carrying Longinus into the Dogma and piercing the Angel.
Yep, and now its legs won't grow, which it definitely was in danger of doing immediately beforehand.
Well, usually they took the legs to make Evangelion, so.
Anyways, that is this volume.
Yeah, and really good volume overall.
Yes, agreed. Almost as good as next volume.
But yeah, you can see that the changes are starting to pile on each other now.
Yeah, it's starting to spiral a little bit.
Yeah, we got a lot of things set up now that didn't really pop up till later in the series. We seem to have skipped monorail.
Yep.
But yeah, we got Dummy Plugs mentioned. We got Project Dean Instrumentality Project mentioned. Shinji's now aware of Seele and the Angel under Nerve. And Kaji even flat out says, "Ever wonder why all the angels are always coming to Tokyo 3? It's because of this."
Yeah, this is the reason. Now you know.
And Shinji's starting to put together some things.
Yep. Shinji's figuring stuff out.
Yep.
Things are happening. I suppose it's unfair to say Shinji's figuring things out when that implies he's the one figuring stuff out, when it is almost exclusively other people exposition dumping him.
Yeah.
And, like, yes, he has put pieces together vis-a-vis his father is currently trying to play 4D chess with a bunch of checkers pieces. But other than that, it's a lot of people just lore dumping Shinji, and Shinji acknowledging the lore dump that's happening.
Gendo's playing 4D chess with checker pieces and a bunch of Skittles, and Seele's trying to just play a normal game with tic-tac-toe.
Yeah. The whole situation is going on.
Meanwhile, Kaji's brought a twister mat and no one knows what the fuck he's doing.
Kaji's brought a twister mat and keeps doing that get over here finger motion towards Shinji, and Shinji doesn't understand why.
Asuka tries to move over, but besides puts her hand, she's like, "You don't want to go there."
No, well, for the love of God, no. I'm saving you.
That's the Neon Genesis series summed up right there.
Meanwhile, Rei is in the corner watching all of it happening and waiting for someone to order her to participate in something.
And Kaoru's like, he's in the doorway with the door slightly ajar and he's peeking it.
Yeah.
That's everything you need to know.
Kaoru's trying to figure out how to become the Twister Man. Yeah, so that's Neon Genesis Evangelion. Or not Neon Genesis Evangelion, that's
Volume 5 of the
Volume
manga.
5 of the Evangelion manga.
Yep. So with that, we'll wrap up this episode then. So, as always, if you'd like to reach us, you can send us an email at whatismypodcastabout@gmail.com. These podcast episodes go up every Wednesday on YouTube and all podcasting platforms, so find your preferred one, like, favorite, subscribe, share it with a friend, write a review. Word of mouth is definitely the best for passing this on to new listeners and growing community. On top of that, we also have an Instagram page, Farewell Evangelion, where we update facts about the series as we go through it, with new episode releases, information and tidbits as we go along, as well as polls here and there just about what's going on in the series. And, as always, Peter, what can we expect next time on Neon Genesis Evangelion with Volume 6?
Alright, so we've been going too long without significant trauma, so next time on Neon Genesis Evangelion, we're getting the American situation. Someone's gonna die, Shinji's gonna be sad because it happened with his own hands. Also, probably plenty of fans.
I would expect.